Hey everyone. Today I'm going to give you a tour of my Epipremnum collection. In other words, my fancy Pothos collection. I've got several varieties and or several plants that I'm going to run through real quick and give you a little bit of introduction. I'm still at the beginning process of my Epipremnum journey. So I still have a lot to learn, and most of my plants, or pretty much all of my plants, are still in their juvenile form. I don't have any that have adult form leaves. Um, I'm wanting to start trying to train them to grow up cocoa core poles or some type of upward support so that they can size up and start giving me those beautifully fenestrated leaves. So stay tuned, kick back, relax, and watch me go through my Epipremnum collection. Okay, so first on my tour is my Epipremnum Amplissimum variegated. This is I mentioned earlier that I wanted these plants to size up, and I definitely want to see this one size up. This is an unusual pothos. This is my again my Epipremnum Amplissimum variegated. The leaves are long and yeah, they're long and slender, and this plant will size up once it starts climbing, and the leaves on this plant can reach up to about 4 feet long. I'm guessing they'll be about 4 or 5 inches wide once they get to be that long. But can you imagine? Look at these variegated leaves. And something interesting, this also has a color change kind of ish thing that goes on with this plant. It opens up with these darker green spots and then those lighter green spots. And then as the leaf hardens off, those lighter green spots fade to a almost white. So there's an older leaf there, and you can see how that variegation pattern has that that green color has lightened up and hardened off into that white. It shows up like different shades of green, cream, and then ultimately white. Um, I just started using my grow lights inside for the season, and I put this one under the grow light, and it was up a little too high, and it got a little burned. But I noticed it right away and was able to get it away from the light. But I'm really excited to see this plant grow and see those giant long leaves that emerge as this plant ages. So yes, this is the first one, my Epipremnum aplissimum variegata or variegated. So stay tuned for the next plant on my tour. Okay, so next on my tour are my Epipremnum pinnatums. Um, that is a separate species, a subcategory of pothos, and they are all um, known for their fenestrated leaves. So these pothos, and I'll grab the first one. The one of the more common ones right now is this is my Epipremnum pedatum Cebu Blue. So this plant is a climber, and I got it kind of at a discount on a clearance rack. This plant, and it when I first got it, it was there were no long trailing vines. It was just not much longer than the top of the pot. So all of this growth has happened since I've had it. But what's happened, I noticed that this plant really needs to be climbing because what happens is it will progressively send out these smaller leaves if it's not attached to something. It's kind of my theory is that the plant's not trying to expend a lot of energy on growing large leaves when it's also trying to seek out something to start its ascension, and that's when it will start putting out that large foliage. But what you can feel is that there are lots of little air roots or little things on the bottom of these stems that would allow them to easily attach to something and start climbing. So I'm going to prune this plant and propagate it and then get it in a new pot with a cocoa core pole so I can start its ascension and start getting those nicely large fenestrated leaves. This plant will fenestrate quickly. I'm trying to see if I see any of the leaves that have any little tiny holes in them, and I don't right now, but I'll show you on the next pedatum that I have in my collection that's on the tour. That some of the oh, here's one. Actually, there's one right there. See those little tiny holes? All those, although that looks like leaf damage, those are actually little holes that the leaves will develop. And this plant in its an adult form will be highly fenestrated and the leaves will be much larger. So that's one of these traits that the Epipremnum pedatum have in common. They will fenestrate. Epipremnum aurea, the more common varieties of pothos that you largely see around, will fenestrate, but that will take a lot longer and the leaves would have to get a lot larger, size up a lot more. And that's its final stage of development for Pothos Epipremnum aureus to fenestrate. But these plants, Epipremnum pedatum, if I'm saying that right, I'll have to check, um, will fenestrate a lot earlier. So stay tuned for the next one on the tour in this collection, this Epipremnum pedatum collection. Okay, so next up on my tour of my Epipremnum collection is my Epipremnum gigantium variegata. I think this is Epipremnum gigantium marble. I'm not sure if if it's two different versions of the plant or if it's just one version of the plant. I've seen an adult version or a larger form of this plant recently, or of the variegated version. So that one's darker color than this one. So I'm not sure if this is the marble or if it's just a more juvenile version of the same plant. I'm going to do some more research to see. But just like the Amplissimum, the Epipremnum giganteum will also get really long leaves. So these leaves can also reach to be about 4 feet long once the plant is mature. So it loves to climb. It's a juvenile. I've had it for a couple of months and it's put on for me, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 leaves since I've had it. And they have gotten progressively larger and longer. This one is a little more slender and it's got a little brown spot on it. I'm not sure what that's from. I don't know. I had it in the window. I don't know if it's gotten burned by the sunlight or what's going on with it, but it's definitely sizing up. So next up on this plant's journey is for me to add a cocoa core pole to it so I can start getting those much longer um, larger leaves from this plant. It's grown in leca, and I switched it over to leca right after I got it, and it's got some pretty good healthy root growth growing in it. It had a long kind of aerial root that grew down into the leca, and it got damaged, so it died off, and I pulled it off. But the plant's roots still look very healthy, and it's still continuing to grow. And it's been a pretty rapid grower for me. It's put out leaf after leaf. As soon as one leaf gets hardened off, you'll start seeing the next leaf poking out, starting to ascend. So I'm really excited to watch this plant get larger, and see those long leaves. I really was struck by how attractive that the other gigantium that I saw recently was. And so I'm excited to see this one get larger. So stay tuned for the next plant on my tour. Thanks. Okay, so next up, we just saw my Epipremnum pedatum Cebu Blue. So this is actually an Epipremnum pedatum Cebu Blue variegated, or ghost. I'm not sure again if there are two different versions of this variegated plant or if they are both the same plant with leaves that have been more adult version and are more highly variegated. What's interesting about this plant is that when the leaves are smaller, they are green. And as the plant sizes up and gets more maturity, the leaves will start to get variegated. So I'll show you, there's just some of it. It has a really cool variegation pattern. It's like the leaves are white with a dark green variegation on top of a white leaf. It just looks kind of interesting. And when these plants are much larger, they almost look completely white with just little bits of green on the leaves. So this plant is definitely an immature one. And oddly, the younger version of this plant has less variegation. So you don't start to see that highly variegated, almost white leaf until you get a more mature plant. So this one's got a little stake that's in there. It's growing on there. I added a wick cord and put it in a little reservoir. And I've got it under a grow light to see if I can get some more variegation. And I'm actually gonna take some cuttings from this and root them and start growing them up a different pole, because this plant is all attached to this little stake, and it will be kind of hard for me to add on some additional height to it. So I'm just gonna start some new plants off of this and kind of keep this as a mother plant. But this is my Epipremnum pedatum Cebu Blue White Ghost or Cebu Blue Variegated. All right, so stay tuned for the next one of my Epipremnum pedatum tour. Okay, we needed to have a little Luna interlude, needed some love and affection. So everybody say hello to Miss Luna. She's always looking for some loving. All right, so let me get back to my tour. You are not ready for me to stop. Luna has an affection quota that is required to be paid every day. All right, booby. Let me get back to I'm giving everybody a tour of my Epipremnum pedatums, my Epipremnum collection. So yeah, let me get back to it, booby. All right. Okay, so next on my tour is my Epipremnum Pinnatum Sunburst. So this is, although it may look very similar to some of the similarly variegated aria, Epipremnum aria, more common versions of the pothos. This one is an Epipremnum pedatum. And so what will happen, and I'm going to show you this leaf, it's getting old and falling off, but it has some inner fenestrations. You see those fenestrations, those little slits there? This plant will develop those like a monstera delicioso. It will develop those larger leaves that will be fenestrated like a monstera. So this is the sunburst. And there are there's a golden flame. There are a couple of different versions of this plant. I think they're all the same plant. This one has more, and there's a leaf, a larger leaf that has those fenestrations in it. These leaves will get large. And so I'm going to use this plant kind of like a mother plant. I'm going to take some cuttings from it and start some plants and attach them to a pole so that I can get them climbing quickly and hopefully size up really quickly and start to fenestrate and give me some nice large leaves. So the next one, so this is the sunburst. So the next one is on my list is the Epipremnum. I'm going to put this one down. The Epipremnum pedatum Albo. So this is a very similar looking plant, and it looked a little harsh. It's got and this plant can throw off some really interesting variegation patterns. So it can give you leaves that are almost all white, half moons. But the biggest thing about this plant will be the fenestrations and the larger leaves. There's another leaf that has those inner fenestration holes there. Um, but this plant, once it sizes up, will look a lot like a Monstera alba. the color pattern. This one is more white. The Sunburst has more of an aria, a yellow tone to it, and this one is white. And when the leaves open up on this plant, they are more yellow. I took some cuttings from this plant and I am going to start these. These are all rooted and they're growing in leca. The roots are growing out of here. I got to get them out of this little pot, but um, these are going to be my first starts that I have hauling up a pole. So I want to actively see if I can get these bad boys sizing up and get me some fenestration. So this is the first step. Thanks for watching. This has been a tour of my Epipremnum, my fancy Pothos collection. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making it. And as always, if you want to see more content like this, please like and subscribe. And leave me some comments in the comments section. Tell me what you think about my fancy Pothos collection, or if you have your own fancy Pothos, tell me about it in the comments. I really like to hear from you. Thanks. Have a good one. And I'll see you soon.